Brings up a user form of all the different types of plays that can be utilized. There's little buttons that you can, if you want to change to a fullback draw instead of our halfback dive, and down, hit OK. We will now load in the fullback draw, play 18. To fire off play 18 and hike the ball, we would click on our offensive lineman, our center here, to get all our results. And we'll see that halfback, Nowitzki, A rating, this will all change as the AI decides which defensive play to emphasize or to use based on down distance. And as it looks up on the offensive play cards what the D20 roll, etc. require. So let's fire off this play, the fullback dive. So in this case we see that the middle linebacker of the Cowboys, L. Jordan, it was a run, so his A rating was used. We're going to look on L. Jordan's A column under the dice roll, 2d6 dice roll of 8. And if it's a result code of like a 90 where you need yardage, we'll use the number 1 for the D10 yardage. Now we can see the AI called defensive play A, which is the standard 4-3 zone, no players moving in their defensive alignments. We can pan back over here as we earlier discussed. The macros have changed. The down now is second. The to go is 10 because we haven't yet inputted what the result of L. Jordan's card is. The ball's still in the 20 because we haven't inputted that. But the time changed. It took off the default 40 seconds for pro games. We see that the fullback, because this was a fullback draw and the D20 called for the fullback's B rating, which in this case was a 6, came into play against middle linebacker Jordan's A rating, which was a 3. There was no other modifiers, no stacks, no crunch zones or anything of the sort, so 6 minus 3 was 3. And the D10 roll was a 7, as we see up here. And since 7 was greater than the 3, that's why Jordan, the middle linebacker, won the matchup. Furthermore, this field screen is showing you that the players in the matchup, the offensive player here was Norm Bulach. L. Jordan was the defender in the matchup. And the AI assigned the tackle to L. Jordan. And the last bit of information down here is Norm Bulach was the ball carrier for the play log assignment. And panning back here to the defensive player areas, we can see the Cowboys were on defense. The A alignment or play, defensive play, placed the 4 down linemen, the 3 linebackers in their default, and the 3 secondary guys across passing zones and the free safety deep. And L. Jordan is highlighted as being the tackler. In this case, the highlight is both tackler and matchup guy. Let's change some of that around. 2 different colors of highlight would show the matchup guy on the next reiteration of the play, Andry, but the tackler of Howley in a different highlight color. Okay, let's assume we looked up on linebacker Jordan's card, which I don't have in front of me. Let's just guess. Let's say it was a 3-yard gain. We would click the gain 3 button. Now it's changed to 2nd and 7. Ball's on the 23. Let's further assume that the result code was a possible fumble. So we would click the macro button for a possible fumble. Scan over. Defaults to a normal play. I don't know Bulach. I don't have the cards in front of me. Let's just say we'll input 10. I don't know what his rating is. And it will run through the probabilities of whether there's a fumble or not. In this case, the AI determined no fumble because the D20 roll was higher than the 10 we inputted. And so we'll click OK. So down here we see further information that relates to these macro buttons. The macros are going to run all these figures now. This initially is just telling you the information, and initially the macros didn't run all this information. But the macro put in that it was a normal, that we put in the fumble rate of 10. The last time, or the default run of the macro, offense would have recovered. And it tells you here whether or not it could have been advanced, and if it were advanced, that there was a penalty during the advancement. So like I said, the macros now handle all this, and this is just superfluous information. Same thing is true if we would have thrown a pass and it's a possible interception, like a result code result code of 64 or something. We'd put in the quarterback's rating, run the macro, and it would tell us whether or not it was intercepted and whether or not it's advanceable. In some instances of the resolution and whatnot is off on your system compared to mine, you might have to readjust the line of scrimmage picture on the field over here by moving the ball left 1. I also include a left 5 increment and right 1 and right 5. Change of possession if for some reason you needed to change the possession, but mostly the macros will run that now. And sometimes you might need to record a quarterback's scramble or a sack, so you would click this macro button. It would ask you if you're looking to record a sack or a scramble. In this case, it tells you what happened. Johnny Unitas goes down under the heavy rush. It tells you the dice roll was a 1. And so we would, if this was a long pass, that's a -4 because it's 3 yards more than whatever this number came out. So we would subtract 4 yards and we'd go up to our gains and loss buttons up here to move the ball. Additionally, here's some info. If you are playing with college teams, breakaway containment is needed on the result codes of 21 and higher for the real long runs. You would reference these boxes whether or not there was enough defenders in the secondary to contain the long play. This is just telling you how many players were in the deepest long pass zone. 1 or 2 is the only results could be here. And this for runs or shorter passes would tell you how many defenders were in the secondary and whether or not the result code was truncated to a shorter result, shorter game. Here's a button to take you to the weird play sheet. If you need to look up a weird play chart result. If you need to look up the result codes, if you don't have them printed out in front of you, that button will take you there. You can read all the result codes and the returns table. Sometimes you might need to refresh the first down line on the field up in here. Do that with this button, or the colors in the end zones. Some of this stuff is old code when I was first having troubles with programming, and most of my latest beta test runs I haven't been even having to use these buttons, but they're still there. Likewise the repaint field. Sometimes the first down yellow line gets left on the end zone, so some of these buttons might help remove that. Okay, looks like I'm out of time here for YouTube video 2. I'll just fire up a few more plays and join you in the third video. Okay, Bulach B11. I'd look his 11 up. Well, let's say he gained another 3. 3rd and 2. AI would call something different. Run 3rd and 2. Whatever play you'd want.